Are you looking to start a podcast? Then see this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn when you sign up for a new account. Get your show on Apple and Spotify. Get helpful audience building stats and all the support you need to sound your best. They can even do video. Bring your podcast to life and have your voice heard here, there, and everywhere with Libsyn. Again, see our show notes for our unique Libsyn promo code and get podcasting.
So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. This is episode 263, Season 7.
The dangerous Smoky Mountain National Park, NC Bigfoot Sightings, fantastic CIA, paranormal, and UFO resource.
Yeah. So here we are again. Welcome. It's glad that you could find the time to listen to us. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So coming up on the holiday season, we're about to wrap it up for the holiday season, but there is a couple things we'd like to talk about, and a couple of these you can consider, I should say, holiday gifts to you.
Holiday gifts.
That's right, holiday gifts, because what we have found, and we found with an asterisk, right, is a couple different links that you might find to be useful in your endeavors, should you so desire to research paranormal and UFO type stuff, and wish you could sit there and be like a nerd and just power scourge the documents and scrounge through them and just look, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so one of them kind of came to us by way of one of our Patreon supporters. I don't know if we should call him John Grimm or not, but that's what we're going to call him.
Sure.
So, because that's what we do. We do have a Patreon that you could support and become a patron. Mm-hmm. Get lots of stuff there. It happens. We send stuff to you. Sometimes it takes a while, but
and a link to our Patreon will be in the show notes for this podcast episode. So if you are interested in supporting us on Patreon, just go to the show notes and click on the link.
Yep, and we're about to fire up the Discord again, so we'll get that kind of thing going.
Oh, and by the way, patrons, your holiday stuff should be in the mail. So
no, it's in the mail. It's on the way.
Yeah.
You should be receiving that. We are at the mercy of the United States Postal Service.
Yes.
A clandestine organization. So they're kind of like the Smithsonian. It's weird. Okay. Anyway, so in the past couple episodes of our podcast, we've been talking about how dangerous the Smoky Mountains National Park is, how spooky the Smoky Mountain, how dangerous the park, how spooky the park, and how weird the park is.
Yes.
And it is considered, America's favorite drive. Over 15 million visitors a year visit the Great Smoky Mountains. I can't even say it. The Smoky Mountain National Park, and they also visit the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is attached to it. This thing kind of spans 2 states primarily. It's Tennessee and then borders North Carolina.
Yeah.
So, and you can go there and see some cool stuff. And what we found is this place seems to be a little bit more dangerous than what people are saying or what we're able to find on the internet.
And even what we do find on the internet, it's broken up.
Yeah.
Some of our patrons may recall an episode where we spoke entirely on some disappearances and stuff like that. Well, even the numbers from those articles don't match this article that we're sharing with you guys, which is Great Smoky Mountains National Park in North Carolina was just named one of the most dangerous parks in the country.
Yes.
The numbers quoted in this one don't even include the numbers we've found on previous episodes.
Yeah, so far, just off the top of my head, it's like double.
Pretty much.
It's double the numbers that have been reported. So it's kind of a weird place. Now, this is a place that also sort of spans, like I said, in the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah.
And allegedly, here's what you can expect in the Great Smoky Mountain. God, why can't I say that? Great Smoky Mountain National Park, which is too long to say. Blue Ridge Parkway, as it spans through our neck of the woods in North Carolina. And we're going to end that at like Morganton, North Carolina. Right. Yeah. So if you're familiar with the area, it makes sense. And if you don't, it's okay. Bear with us. So what you can expect are deep underground military bases, weird things flying in the air, as in you've got the Thomas Divide lights, or what people are calling the Cherokee lights. And I think it's like 2 people that actually call it the Cherokee lights.
Yeah.
Now, there's been weird disappearances there. There's been sightings of creatures there. There's been alleged sightings of Bigfoot in that area, and this is the whole area, right? Yep. There have been sightings of military drones, military crafts, alleged helicopters disappearing in the mountains, the whole freaking deal.
Trains disappearing into
mountains. Disappearing in the mountains. Crazy, just weird stuff, as in like giant satellite dishes being trucked through the mountains to just disappear.
Shadowy figures.
Yep. Security guards coming out of nowhere to tell you to leave.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm in the public and I'm in a national park. Who are you to tell me?
Alleged,
but you don't want to do that.
Suddenly you're on private property, even though you're in the middle of the park.
And the military and government in general, both combined, depending on what entity you look at, have been buying up, or I shouldn't say buying, because technically the military doesn't, and the government doesn't actually buy property. They lease it.
Oh.
And they can sign like a 200-year lease or whatever. So they have been leasing property all throughout these parks and into the Linville Gorge. And they've been sort of gathering up property to keep you out. Because once it's theirs, they put no trespassing on it, and because they don't, it's what they do.
Yeah.
Well, what are they doing? I have no idea, but there's theories that abound, and I have a personal theory is that once they started basically reactivating these underground military shelters and bunkers and bases, they started expanding, so the budget got picked up. Because for a while there, these underground secret places that they will whisk away our leadership to in the event of emergencies were kind of like shut down.
Yeah.
Or they weren't expanding, or they were just, sort of taken down to having maybe half the facilities they had.
And then oddly enough, within the past 2 years, with everything else that's going on, and I'm just going to leave it at that statement, we've noticed more activity. Actually, almost the past 3 years.
It's been about the past 4 years.
Well, stuff really ramped up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been kind of paying attention to it because I'm a Cold War era sailor, hunt and track submarines and that kind of stuff, surface ships. And, the Cold War didn't really end, right? It just sort of like died down just a little bit, or at least it wasn't as popular. But it just seems like some of these bases are coming back. So anyway, this particular park and part of the Blue Ridge Parkway, we think that there's stuff going on.
Yeah. On top of...
You just can't find the info.
The military strangeness that Greg just spoke about. We have ghost lights. We mentioned the Cherokee lights, the Brown Mountain lights. We have just missing persons. We have dangerous waterfalls. This particular area of North Carolina, it's like road of 100 waterfalls or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bear attacks and just bear in general. There's bears everywhere out here.
And I believe with waterfalls, and do not quote me on this, I think it's been 10 deaths in the past few years.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even count bad tragedies and accidents, where people just really hurt themselves out on these remote trails, usually near a waterfall or near something very old. Again, the missing persons, we all are familiar with like the missing 411 phenomenon, but that's evolved. I mean, that seems to be going one direction. We have our own opinion and direction that we're going to take with that as we hear about more of these disappearances. Yeah,
an alleged Bigfoot attack where special forces, international special forces under the lead of the U.S. was sort of brought into an area and where they did a sort of a culling of some juvenile Bigfoots that were attacking.
Yeah.
I've seen that story like in one place, but I've seen it like quoted 1,000 times. This was supposed to be up around Banner Elk. Also kind of in our area, alleged Dogman and Bigfoot, pretty close. It's supposed to be a Bigfoot sighting in Cades Cove. There's supposed to be an alleged incident of somebody, a hiker, disappearing and being eaten and then allegedly found again from feral people. So we have everything from feral people to UFOs to Bigfoots to ghost lights, all that stuff.
Got somebody who wants to connect me to someone who has a Dogman story right here in where we live.
Well, we should do that. But what we find is people come up and say, yeah, I'm going to tell you all about it. And then they don't. We're like, hey, where you at?
Exactly.
And it's just crickets. And we get it.
But for the purpose of this article, They're claiming at least 20 related deaths within the past few years, primarily automotive related.
Yeah, people reckon.
What they are not counting are hikers who have found to have expired or died tragically, like missing person stuff, so that's not included.
Yeah, and the one thing you'll never see really mentioned by any news source or anything like that, they never kick the idea around of the possibility of being a Blue Ridge Parkway / Great Smoky Mountain National Park serial killer.
I know.
And I got to be honest with you, that could be a very easy place to disappear. You can pull into a parking lot and you'd be the only one there for a very long time because there is pull-offs and things so you can enjoy nature's majesty.
And then
all somebody has to do is pull up and get you and you're gone. And nobody would know.
Pull-offs that we have on the Blue Ridge Parkway as well as Great Smoky Mountains, some of them have not been maintained. So on top of it being a crumbly, cast-off area, bigger vehicles like bigger trucks or even our van, we blow right past them because they haven't been maintained, so you don't even see the pull-off for the pull-off.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's pretty ambiguous as to whether or not you can stay overnight.
Yeah.
Like anywhere in a park. It doesn't really say you can't just park for the night. It doesn't really sort of allude to that. So I'm sure some people have been making their way through the Blue Ridge but I don't think I would do that. I think that if you were going to maybe traverse from the Smoky Mountains National Park through the end to the end of the Blue Ridge Parkway in, I think, Shenandoah, Virginia, if it comes nighttime, I would probably pop off the parkway and maybe sleep at a Walmart or somewhere like that, or truck stop. Or I don't know if I would stay because I don't think we're going to do that. I
really, really want to do like an overnight,
Yeah, I do too. But I think honestly, I like the idea of it. I don't like the idea of somebody pulling up next to us and trying to rob us or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that's going to happen. There's places. I think in this particular instance, having lights and parking spots and a bunch of people would make it safer. I don't feel safe there. I don't like it.
And see, there's some spots like I wouldn't mind like Mount Mitchell or Grandfather Mountain, because those two places seem to be more kept up and more
right. Well, it's more populated,
watched.
It's like a tourist thing, and
however,
you can't sleep there overnight.
Like if you go to the bottom of this article, Grandfather Mountain just got named one of the most dangerous trails in North Carolina.
Yeah, because when you fall a long way.
Yeah. So that's not good.
Yeah, so you can pretty much kill yourself to death falling off some of these mountains out here. And speaking of kill yourself to death, there was a kayaker who, before we wrote and made this podcast, when all the notes that we talk about, everything we talk about is in our show notes for our podcast. And you can go to our website, CreepGeeks.com, and check that out. But putting in the other podcast episode, somebody recently just has disappeared. They were a kayaker. Right? And they were in an area called the Sinks.
Yeah.
And the article basically says a kayaker disappeared underwater in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and a search was underway, and they couldn't find him. So a 61-year-old man had disappeared underwater while kayaking above the Sinks and did not resurface. So he's somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just, they brought out the emergency rescue and all that, and Townsend Fire Department, Blunt Special Operations Response Team. They were looking for a kayaker, and the high water level from the recent rains that we've had, I guess, complicated the search. And so far, there's no further information.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never really expected that with the kayakers because you can kayak. This is an area that does have, lots of kayak and river rafting type things, locally. So
I was trying to see some pictures of the Sinks. It's a very pretty place.
Yeah. Well, evidently it's pretty enough to go underwater and not come back. Yeah. I mean, it's the place. I think people, when they do these tourist things, this is what we noticed when we lived in New Mexico when we first got there. People go out to do the touristy stuff. And I think that they think since it's like a national park or a touristy type place to go to, that the amount of danger is not there.
Or because like one person did a TikTok in like sandals, it's completely okay to try to hike this 14-mile trail in sandals. Or
I think when we first started doing the podcast, when it wasn't named the CreepGeeks Podcast, when we were talking about stuff like trips and stuff that we were going to take or go to, there was 14 deaths in one season just by people turning off the main trail.
Yeah.
and just dying. Like one couple, they were like, I think it was 200 yards off the road, and they just died. They got stuck in some mud and just died. It was because of heat and exposure.
It was 14 related deaths in Southwest national parks or national monuments.
Yeah.
Because you had 2 different couples for White Sands. You had that one couple out towards Big Bend, Texas. And then you had Death Valley.
And I think there was one right around Arizona.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a strange thing. So not only do we have the tourist-related deaths that we're talking about and accidents and things like that in the Smoky Mountain National Park, there's some other weird stuff going on. We actually went and sat Thomas Divide Overlook and experienced some of the lights, which are kind of, I guess, being referred to by some as the Cherokee lights, and then also Brown Mountain.
But I wonder if I start researching them under Cherokee lights, if I'm going to get more information.
I mean, you might. I think you're going to probably find 5 references to it like I did, because that's what I thought they were called. And then I realized, oh, no, they're not called the Cherokee lights. They're called the Thomas Divide lights. So it depends how far back you go. So if you go back with the internet, back as far as you can, you'll see them referred to as both different ways. And we actually talked to locals and some of the local Cherokee around there, and they didn't refer to them as anything other than the Overlook.
Yeah.
So that was the name they had for it. And so weird stuff happens at the Overlook. And I said, which Overlook? And they were, one guy said Thomas Divide, and the other guy said the one that's past the marker, which is the Masonic marker, and there's weird stuff that happens there too.
Yeah.
Allegedly, somebody died there. How they died, why they died, nobody knows. They were just dead there.
I know.
And that's pretty close to a place where allegedly you can get some security guys coming up and saying, you are not allowed to be in this area. And they're not the regular, like, military security guys. These are all people that have been hired to fulfill the role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're not military. They don't care. They don't abide by the same rules, I think, when it comes to, I'm protected by the Constitution, which is, I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Am I being detained?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. Do you have reasonable articulation or suspicion of me committing a crime? Yeah. You don't get my ID, whatever, man. So you can get all fired up with that stuff. Yeah. Well, but yeah, anyway, Great Smoky Mountains National Park's pretty dangerous, and we're trying to figure out what's up, and we're keeping an eye on it because there's some weird things that happen. Yeah. And when we were at CryptidCon, we met some weird people, but one of the people that we've seen multiple times and we know, we're going to call him friend of the show because he's not listening, Steve Barkello.
Yeah.
He has a paranormal and Bigfoot museum. Basically, it's a cryptid museum in Littleton, Virginia.
North Carolina.
I do that every time. It's okay. So Littleton, North Carolina, right?
In Halifax County.
And don't say it like that. You try to be country, and it sounds
just
insulting.
saying it.
That's not how they say it in Halifax.
Okay.
Halifax.
So,
tell them.
There have been 4 recent Bigfoot sightings in North Carolina,
and one of them is a trash picker.
Anyways, when I first read this article, I was like, "What?" Because it didn't make sense that they were saying these were recent sightings. However, Littleton, it's like a minor hotbed of Bigfoot sightings. In early November 2019, there was a sighting by Ebony Curls. Ebony reported seeing a short 5.5-foot tall Bigfoot directly behind the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum.
Yeah.
Now, this 4th most recent sighting in Littleton, he believes the Bigfoot creatures, Steve believes the Bigfoot creatures are being driven out of the woods by development. This happened, a man named Jesse Walker was taking out his trash on March 20th. Walker says that he was visibly shaken by his encounter with Sasquatch, which he said took place just 20 minutes prior to telling Steve. In the video, Walker claims that the creature he saw was real tall, his fur was real black, and it was shaggy, long. So it's real, added Walker, who is either one of the greatest undiscovered actors of his generation or is hoaxing. I don't like how this article made it.
No, it's okay. It's one. Okay, here's what gets me right.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote this article, and they're not from the area.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have the link up. Let's see.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, right? So since they're not from the area, they don't know how. Should we make this serious, or should we do tongue in cheek, or what should we do? Which is always sort of aggravating. Anyway, I like the idea that possibly this Bigfoot was a trash picker.
Well, wasn't the guy was taking his trash out when he saw it, right? Yeah.
Because if you were an opportunistic, sort of very smart animal, wouldn't you look at every food source, especially if you're transiting from one area to the other? Because allegedly, Medoc Mountain or Medic Mountain has Bigfoots up there. That's why Steve goes up there.
Yeah, and Steve's absolutely right.
And there's a campground up there.
There's a bit of development that's been going on in Littleton, which is a small town. It only has 674 people, according to its last census.
Yeah.
Right next to it is Medic Mountain, which we've camped at, and the whole area is very well wooded. I wouldn't say densely, but it's well wooded, and it's remote-ish. I mean, we drove around.
I mean, you could definitely hide there somewhere.
Yeah, we drove around the town, and we accidentally drove almost around and through the park.
Yeah,
because it's just out there.
And I think they also have horse camping out there too.
Yeah,
so you could bring your animals. So, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, that just goes into when we went. We didn't really have very much of anything sort of occur, but it was a weird. Yeah, it's kind of like I could see where there'd be a Squatch, possibly Sasquatch hanging out. Because it meets the criteria. There's water. There's food. I mean, we do this and think of it like, okay, if I was a Bigfoot, could I survive? Based off, and everybody does it based off of how smart they think these things are and how animalistic they think these are. Some people think that they're just a couple, maybe just a little bit below human. So if they're just a little bit below human, they're very smart.
Yeah.
So they would be eating out of trash cans or wherever else they could eat, grabbing clothes and running off. Like there's been stories of I think we heard that from Mysterious Universe where this lady was complaining that, her clothes were getting taken and an alleged Bigfoot was seen walking through the area with a dress on backwards, just trying to blend in or something. I don't know. So who knows? But anyway, one day we'll talk to Steve and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
Because I know they did move the museum to a much larger location, more centralized towards the downtown, more populated type area. So I don't think it occurred where the new location is. I think it happened where Steve was, and where it was is pretty residential, but it's also really wooded out his way. So that would make sense too. And I know there's a little bit of water out there.
Yeah. Well, that was the one thing I was going to say about the park. When me and Pepper took a little mini hike through there, we passed through a very swampish spot, and then it was nothing but these kind of rolling hills that led directly into these little creeks.
Yeah.
So there's plenty to eat and live off of out there. So
frogs and bugs and
yeah.
Okay, so we do have a link to Steve's stuff. Is it a website we have a link to or a YouTube channel?
I think it's the Facebook page because when I tried to search the YouTube channel.
Yeah, it comes up weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's a link. So if you want to check it out, if you're thinking about going to Littleton and go to the museum out there and check it out, it's pretty cool. It's got some paranormal ghosty stuff and Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah.
And where where the museum was before is in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Which made it pretty neat. So, and that place felt pretty active, I guess. So that's pretty cool. All right. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And when we come back, we're actually going to talk about the CIA Paranormal Index, the secret teachings of all ages, and how to go to a website and check out some Freedom of Information Act from the CIA. It's like a library that you can listen to.
Hey, this is Seth Breedlove of Small Town Monsters. You are listening to my favorite podcast, the CreepGeeks Podcast. That's all I got. That's it.
So there you go. That's a real quick break. Had to throw that in there.
Okay.
Got our buddy Seth to do a little promo for us, and we're going to work that thing for as long as we can.
Okay.
All right, so if you aren't aware, or if you first time tuning in the podcast, we've been kind of sick. We got a little touch of the COVID a while ago, and we're still trying to recover. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So if you hear us coughing and making noises, that's
I'm honestly trying, y'all. So.
Well, it's not you. It's me and everything else chewing on cough drops, and my voice sounds exceptionally manly because I got that deep cold.
COVID's affected my ears.
Yeah. Yeah, little those pill capsules right on the desk.
Yes.
Okay, so this came about through the Discord chat. So I brought, anyway, trying to get the Discord chat up and working again. It's been a long time since we looked at it. And honestly, with the bandwidth issues we were having in the past, because where we are in rural North Carolina, there's really no good internet for us.
Yeah.
So we recently acquired Starlink for RV so we could use it in our amazing camper van and hopefully here. And it's been working out okay for us to be able to utilize it. So been slowly bringing some things back online and trying to do some things because we have more bandwidth. And they basically sent a little bit of a comment because I waved to him using to see if he's like, hey, and so he had a dream, right?
Mm-hmm. Who had a dream?
I don't want to say who it is.
So somebody on the Discord.
This was on the Discord. I'm getting to it. Then we're going to call him John Grant. Don't roll your eyes. There's only one person that's been talking to me. It's been him because I tried to invite you, but you didn't talk. I may have you banned or blocked or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, it's probably good for you.
Builds character.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he had a dream, and basically he was able to become invisible by creating a potion of some type.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I don't have dreams like that, so I'm thinking that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And he said in his dream that there were two ingredients, and one was something called lotus breath. And so he did some research on lotus breath, and he found that it was a type of breathing that the Rosicrucians teach. And that through this sort of structured breathing, you can become invisible. Okay?
Okay.
And he found it, of all places, right, a reference to it and a manual from the CIA. So if you go to CIA.gov, you can find all sorts of stuff, and this came from the book. It's the secret teachings.
Oh, okay.
Of all things. I'm like, what? So we include a link to a CIA Paranormal Index. Right? Where you can find documents and books and stuff like that and website links and things to kind of give you an idea what the CIA has available to look at. And so the question was basically posed, why does the CIA have this stuff?
At one point, they had to have investigated some of this stuff. I mean...
Yeah, but why would they? Because we sort of talked about this amongst ourselves at one time. Why would they want to, or why would they expend the time, money, resources? How did this all come about?
So, if it's a CIA, and it's the paranormal, or the underexplained, not the unexplained, the underexplained, and the paranormal and the underexplained offer the opportunity to have powers or special things that other people may not be aware of or be able to do, the CIA is going to want to exploit it. They're going to want to exploit it against other governments or people or groups of people. That's why I feel they'd at least investigate, some of this stuff. And then, like you were saying, this lotus breath concept was brought, he found more information through like some Rosicrucian stuff. Well, at one point, the CIA has definitely investigated every single secret group,
Just call them what they are. A lot of these secret groups are cults, and they definitely research cults.
Cults or organizations.
Or, factions that possibly may have bad ideas towards the U.S. and all that sort of thing. But, a lot of this investigations and stuff that the CIA was doing really started from the Nazis.
Okay.
Because they were looking for all this stuff. They were looking for the Ark of the Covenant. They were looking for ancient technologies to be able to create flying crafts from India. And they were looking at all these different sort of ancient missing and lost technologies or powers or ideas of powers to give them an edge during World War II.
Okay.
And they were serious about it. They weren't like, oh, let's just, kind of look. If you look at, let's use Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's Nazis all through it because they were actually actively looking for it. So, of course, if somebody else is doing it like the Nazis, you kind of got to be ahead of them. And this is before the CIA actually became the CIA. So they had OSS and other organizations that they were part of. Anyway, Central Intelligence Agency sort of combined a lot of things together to create itself. But yeah, they've been looking at everything from mind control, telekinesis, remote viewing, Stargate, disinformation through whatever. I mean, it goes on and on. Cults and ancient religions and mystic teachings and ancient technology, the whole thing. So they have to investigate it to see if it's something that can be, like you said, exploited. Mm-hmm. And also, wouldn't you want to be able to be utilizing that technology in case someone else is? Shouldn't you be aware of it at least? Yeah,
be aware of it so that you can also try to find ways to protect against it.
Right.
So if remote viewing, which, on the table, I think has some strong validity, there has to be a way to protect against remote viewing.
Yeah, or astral projection, or out of body experiments, or whatever.
Yeah.
So the link that we put, basically takes you to all sorts of stuff, and the first link you come to is CIA.gov, the reading room, and it basically talks about investigating the paranormal through utilizing CIA FOIA, which is Freedom of Information Act.
But I clicked on that, and I don't understand that thing.
It's a government entity, which means it has a government bureaucracy involved, and you basically put what you're trying to find, and then you submit a request for it. And if there's a fee involved, you pay the fee. So it's kind of like going to DMV.
I understand that part. I'm talking about I click on the link and it takes me to this document thing, and it says body, and it just looks like a string of words. So
that's kind of how some of these appear and how they show up. It's a government document. What? I was in the military, man. I am fully aware of how some of this stuff looks.
And that's the weird thing. Okay, so it says body, and it says approximate pari R. We published this week a paper by DRS, page 602, which is bound by create something of a string. That's what I'm reading,
Okay.
So I'm like, but then you actually click on the PDF within this FOIA request, and it takes you to an old article investigating the paranormal. So I'm like, okay. But
yeah, none of this is easy.
I know. But that right there, when you first land on that link, I'm like, this is enough to deter me. This just looks like a useless fill string, Yeah. So.
Well, a lot of it is because some of these documents don't use the same typeset and spacing and breaks and paragraph breaks and stuff that you would actually see other places, because a lot of it's really old. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has been sort of electronically duplicated and put in here, and how they do it, it's not
And you click
pretty.
on this, and it looks like it's like a dictated paper.
And some of it may be. Imagine if you had the Library of Congress and it was your job to take old books and electronically duplicate them. Mm. So if you look at the article that you're talking about, when you click on the link, it says document type CREST, collection Stargate, document number, right? The FOIA number, and it gives the number, right? CIA, RDP, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Origin classification is U for unclassified. Document page count, 28 pages in this document. The date it was created, November 4th, 2016. The date that the document was actually released or came into being was June 17th, 1998. The sequence number is 24. There is no real case number for it, and it gives you the original publication date. That's the date they started doing it, and that was in October 18th, 1974, and it came from a magazine. And that all came from a magazine. So you'd actually, the way I would break into this would be I would copy and paste it into another document and start adding breaks where you add sentences and things like that so it follows through, so it makes sense, so that way you can come up with some stuff like, we also would like to thank Dr. Christopher Evans of the National Physical Laboratory, whose continued advice on the subject is reflected in the current document.
Or you could use Google Lens.
You could try. It's a lot of work. They don't make this easy. You want the Freedom of Information Act document? Here it is. Here's what you get. Good luck.
Yeah.
This is why you have these people. that spend lifetimes digging through this stuff, researching it, breaking it down sentence by sentence. And a lot of times they take it into a completely different context, because with this document right here, there is no context. It's a context that says, here's the information. Good luck. So you can take it any way you want. And that's what makes it crazy, because a lot of people do this. They'll find FOIA documents and they put it in the context that they want it to be in, because there's no real way to figure out exactly what the context is supposed to be with some of these documents. And it becomes crazy. But I like the idea that you can go to CIA.gov/reading room/documents and start searching for Freedom of Information Act documents in there. And there's even like, if you need to submit a request, you can submit a request for a document. There's a fee schedule that tells you how much you're going to pay, if you have to pay, and what you're going to pay for, like, depending on the document. Right? Like in the category of educational and scientific, right? Search costs don't cost anything. Review costs don't cost anything. The first 100 pages, no charge. Now, after 100 pages, it's 10 cents a page. Now, is the page front and back? No, it ain't.
No.
So you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Right? News media, same thing. First 100 pages, no charge. Remaining, 10 cents a page. All others. The first 2 hours of search is free, no charge. The remainder of that is $18 an hour for manual search, $11 to $27 an hour if you're going to use the computer. First 100 pages, no charge. Remainder, 10 cents. And I say that because one of the documents that we're referring to is basically a 600 pages.
Yeah.
So if you got to pay for 500 pages and it's 10 times 500, how many is that? It's like $50. But it's a resource that you can use, and it's a resource that came to us by way of one of our patrons, John Grimm. You know who you are. And I thought it was pretty cool, because to be honest with you, I never really paid much attention to the CIA.gov stuff. And FOIA requests, because a long, long time ago, you couldn't do a FOIA request over the computer. It's just kind of one of those things where this is a rabbit hole that you will fall into and try to do some research, and it's a hard way to research. It's definitely not as instantaneous as Google searching something and popping a link up, and there it is, and you're good to go. This is work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are putting in the work. And you kind of have to know what you're looking for. You kind of have to, and this is where you find the documents that you can find. Oh, there it is. And it's all redacted with the black magic marker across all the good stuff. So you kind of have to be specific in what you're looking for. And you also kind of have to know what you're looking for. So one of the things that came up that he basically said with the lotus breathing technique to become invisible was the book that it actually came from or was referring to. And it's called Secret Teachings of All Ages. Yeah.
By Manly P. Hall.
And you can buy this book off of Amazon if you want. And it varies in price from like $25 to $700, depending on how you're going to get it. Or you can use the PDF document and save it to your computer, and then you can look at it. And in the show notes, we have a link to it. So it'll be on our website. So if you click on the Secret Teachings of All Ages Index link, it'll actually take you to that PDF document.
Oh, I went on Amazon, though, just to see it because I wanted to see what it looked like. And I'm like, this cover is super familiar.
Yes, because it's the Secret Teachings of All Ages.
Yeah.
And it's been referred to all over the place.
Makes me wonder if somebody in my household growing up had it.
This was a very popular book at one time. It was kind of like, this and the Anarchist Cookbook and some other stuff were like the weird sort of books.
Manly P. Hall, which sounds like a total fake name, but it's Manly Palmer Hall. March 18th, 1901 to August 29th, 1990. That's a long life right there.
89 years.
Yeah. He founded the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles.
Now, we listen to Mysterious Universe occasionally, and they talk about the philosophical research.
Yeah. So I guess he was he spoke on a lot of mysticism subjects.
When I was looking through it, it was like over 5,000 conferences and stuff like that he's done. So he's done quite a bit. And the cool thing about this book, this PDF document that you can get, and you look at it in an index, here's some of the titles or chapters, if you will, right? The Ancient Mysteries and Secret Societies which have influenced modern Masonic symbolism. Ancient Mysteries and Secrets Societies Part 2, Part 3, Atlantis and the Gods of Antiquity, The Life and Teachings of Thoth Hermes, I can't pronounce his last name. Go ahead, give it a shot. It'd be funny.
Thoth Hermes Trismegistus.
Yeah, that guy. The Initiation of the Pyramid, Isis, the Virgin of the World, the Sun, a universal deity, the Zodiac and its signs, Wonders of Antiquity, Life and Philosophy of Pythagoras? I can't. It's like, I want to say Pythagorean.
Yeah,
anyway.
Pythagoras.
Right, the human body and symbolism.
Yeah, the Pythagorean mathematics.
The theory, yeah. I don't know. I can read it.
Yeah.
Fishes, insects, animals, and reptiles, and birds, Part 1 and 2. Here's yours. Stones, minerals, and gems.
Metals.
Did I say what I say, minerals? I can't read. I can't talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ceremonial magic and sorcery. The elements and their inhabitants. Kind of interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hermetic pharmacology, chemistry, and therapeutics. The Kabbalah, which is the secret doctrine of Israel. And there's a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, man, if you click on one, prepare to actually utilize open a new window.
Yeah.
Now I got to open it again.
Basically, it's an amazing book. It's an amazing resource. Definitely want to thank Mr. Grimm for kind of pointing that out. And you can kind of go through and check it out if you want. We're not going to talk about all 633 pages, but it looks like since the copyright has not been renewed since 1928, that you can copy and save this and look at it all you want.
This dude did over 17 works.
Yep. And I don't think you can sell it or anything like that, so don't go crazy. But, I mean, it's there for you to use. It's dense with knowledge. And it's an equivalent of a short book, because each book is like 50 chapters. So it's like, that's a lot. And it's kind of like a word, and that's why they call it the Secret Teachings of All Ages. It's an encyclopedic outline of Masonic, Hermetic, Kabbalistic, Rosicrucian, symbological philosophy, and it's an interpretation which includes, some of it being an interpretation of the secret teachings concealed within rituals, allegories, and mysteries of all ages. So yeah, man, I was like, this is great. So I spent some time when I was going through and looking at it and realized that I hadn't got back to John in the Discord chat like 4 days later. I'm like, oh, hey, man. Because when I'd get bored, I'd pop it open on my phone and start looking through some of it. There's some really interesting stuff in there. And, I think this is, one of these books that if you go forward, like let's just say go 50 years in the future and find some dusty book in the library, you'd find this is the ancient secret book of teachings.
Yeah. I have read part of this.
Well, we all have.
Yeah.
But have you ever read all 633 pages? No way.
Oh.
Because a lot of these little sections, these 50-page like pamphlets and stuff like that, some of them you would get from like when the Rosicrucians used to be out walking around, like the, what do you call those guys? The Hare Krishna guys. If you went to like weird shops, like occult shops, or the Area for Research and Enlightenment in Virginia Beach, Virginia, there was all these little pamphlets, and a lot of that stuff was in there.
I found this book. Now that I'm reading the section that you were like metals, gems, and stones.
Yep.
I read it. I'm like, I've read this. And I got a copy of this and checked it out, along with a copy of The Book of Law by Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
From the Bayside Public Library.
Yeah, why not? Why would they not have it?
And I was a teenager checking these things out.
Sure. You're allowed. It's America, man.
I know, but still.
And you got to remember, where did we grow up? Virginia Beach, Virginia. Area for Research and Enlightenment. That place is full of whack jobs and weirdos when it comes to this kind of stuff, and the woo-woo people.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're offended by that, I don't care. Because you're the people we're talking about.
And like Drawing Down the Moon by like Margaret, what's her face? I would check these out from the public library.
And if people want to get all worked up about the ARE, it's like, I used to go back there when there was a giant pyramid in the back. And if you don't know anything about that, then don't talk to me about this stuff.
Yeah.
That place is a giant cult-like atmosphere. It's pretty weird. And I'm not saying that Edgar Casey was the ringleader of a cult, because I don't think he was. This all occurred after, I think. Really started getting after when he passed away.
Yeah.
They started shifting into this weird sort of thing that they're in. They do good work. There's some weirdness going on. It's definitely a woo-woo place if you want to go check it out. But, hey.
Yeah.
And you used to be able to get tested for psychic ability there, too. And you would surely get kicked out with a quickness when they catch you cheating.
Yeah.
We had a lady jumping up and down excited that we were psychic. Because she's holding up the cards, right? Circle, star, square, wavy line, that kind of thing. And we were getting them all right. She was just like, oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Anyway, this book is amazing. You should check it out. If anything, take it with a tongue-in-cheek, whatever you want to do. As if any of this is real, I don't know. But it is pretty neat to kind of look at, and it may expand some of your ideas if you're looking to sort of explore the ancient realms of whatever, the ancient teachings and stuff like that. Philosophies of Aristotle, it just goes on and on. It's got 633 pages. It's a PDF document, and you can find a link in our show notes at CreepGeeks.com.
Yep.
It's very nice. And, yeah, man, very cool. So speaking of that, also came across another resource, right? Because these are going to be our gifts to you. Resources that you can use to expand whatever it is you're trying to expand or just waste your time. It kind of depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right? One of the resources I came up with through the internet and kind of putting around looking for stuff was the UFO-Hunters website, and there's a map, and the map showed UFO sightings and reports in our area. And this isn't like Google Maps. This is a map where you can search and you add in your own information to try to bring, GIS type information, try to bring stuff to give you a data result from geological, like mapping, right?
Okay.
And it came across all these UFO sightings in our area, and it was a lot of them. And I was like, wow. So I basically did a screen capture and threw it up as a picture on our Instagram, saying I didn't realize there were this many UFO sightings in our area. And a lot of people were like, where did you get that from? How'd you do that sort of thing?
Yeah. And
so we gave them the link. Here you go. Good luck. Now, this is not real easy. You have to kind of have a little bit of knowledge about it and how it works and what the actual deal is. You may even need to download some software if you want to try it to get your own custom results. But we do have a link, and you can go there and you can actually see through the UFO-Hunters.com website recent UFO activity, and it brings you a map, and then you can click and zoom in to find your location.
I finally got it to work.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I had a real hard time because I don't know if you warned them.
No, I didn't. So
blockers.
Don't. Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Let me go ahead and do. I warned in the show notes. If you go to this website, UFO-Hunters, basically activate pop-up blockers, because this is one of these things where this organization uses ads and stuff to fund their page, whatever. There's a lot of them. So I have a little link in there that says pop-up blockers activate.
Yeah.
And you should probably be using pop-up blockers anyway. I use ad blocker, and it worked pretty good. And it just basically brings up, the picture of the world, if you will, and you can click the United States, where if you look at the map, right, and it shows the map of the world, right, everything from Africa all the way through North America, everything in between. If you go, the U.S. has the most concentrated, what appears to be UFO sightings out of any country and any continent in the world.
Yeah.
And it's pretty recent. Like, I'm looking at one that happened East 3rd Street and Collins Street, Saturday, November 12th, 2022. I don't know where that is. I think it's in Arkansas. Let me see. And you click on it, and underneath that, it'll basically bring up, the latest 100 sightings all over the world. And then once you click on the sighting itself, it'll take you to where you can read about it. And the thing about the website is there's thousands of sightings and all that stuff. So you can basically find sightings by date, shape, color, near you, and you can browse over 100,000 sightings. If you've seen a UFO, it says, be quiet, you're not alone. Thousands of people have experienced the same before, and you can click on it and fill out what you've seen and where. And there's also a UFO Hunters app where you can download the app and take a look at the most recent sightings or those near you. So when you're out there riding around and you're like, hey, I wonder if there's any UFO sightings around here, you can use the app. App is for Android, and all this is created by them. And it actually talks about, if you really want to get into it, there's apps that you can download, and you can create your own map It's kind of nerdy. Mm-hmm. So like there's definitely like map nerds that are like, I'm going to document the weather in this particular region for, whatever, man. But these guys have done it for UFOs. It's UFO-hunters.com, and you can do your own search. And it's going to show you the most recent 100.
Oh, wow. The most recent one within 100 miles of us is Pinnacle, North Carolina, June 10th, 2022.
Well, West Union, South Carolina is actually kind of closer.
Oh, okay.
And it happened Thursday, October 6th, 2022.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there's some that scroll across the top and just get Clearwater, Florida. Mm. Now, of course, the map is only going to be as accurate as people that report it and when they report it. So you may not see, you may have heard of something yesterday, but if nobody's reported it and it hasn't been absorbed into the map yet, you probably won't see it. So it's kind of one of those things. It's organic in nature, and it depends on people reporting their events. And there's been 204,453 sightings reported so far.
Oh, no, it's saying Pinnacle was closer.
By how much?
As in, if I search for Asheville, North Carolina, it's not pulling up anything else.
Yeah, well,
so
Asheville's not close to us.
So
I'm talking about distance, like driving.
But yeah.
Because we went to West Union. That's where we went to a paranormal thing. So anyway, moving on. It's a pretty cool little thing. You can definitely check it out. We'd recommend that if you do this, make sure you get your pop-up blockers activated when you get there, because there'll be a bunch of pop-ups. And if you don't have a pop-up blocker because you don't use a pop-up blocker on your web browser, you should. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, I thought that was really cool. Kind of posted out there. Was kind of looking at some different things. And, and I'm sure that sooner or later, I think the same technology involved in generating this map is really close to the same technology that's involved in generating a Bigfoot map for Bigfoot encrypted sightings and creature sightings. So you can definitely spend some time there. And here's another place you can definitely spend some time with. There's a massive UFO abduction catalog, which turns out to be an amazing resource that has been released for public consumption.
Oh.
Yeah. And this massive UFO abduction catalog, right? I found out about this when I was cruising around the internet, and I found a blog by Isaac Coy.
Okay.
And Wednesday, December 7th, 2022, now online, monumental and mammoth UFO abduction catalog and database. Plus, analysis by the most credible abduction researcher, Dr. Thomas E. Bullard's UFO Abductions, The Measure of the Mystery.
Okay.
So Volume 1 is 414 pages of comparative study and abduction reports, and Volume 2 is 449 pages of a catalog database of UFO abduction cases. And if you go and you click on a link and you go to his blog, you'll see highlighted Volume 1 and Volume 2. And then a bunch of words. If you want to skip the words and get to the catalog, click the link, Volume 1, and it will take you to a pretty substantial PDF document. And then you can save that document, and you can investigate it and research it and look at it. And the same thing with Volume 2. Because Volume 1 takes you to effectively looks like a download page, right? And this download page has a list of PDFs that scrolls for a while. And one of them is UFO Air Force Aids to Identify Flying Objects PDF. Right?
Yeah.
John Schuessler's UFO-related human physiological effects PDF. Radio frequency radiation PDF. Detection and identification of unidentified flying objects from January 2000 PDF. Cash Landrum radiation case PDF. The UFOlogy. How do you say ufology? Ufology handbook PDF. Yeah. Which that one's pretty cool, right? A catalog of alleged UFO pictures in Japan from 1974 to 1976 PDF. Members Handbook and Investigation Guide from Mara Handbook. Strange effects from UFOs.
Strange effects from PDFs.
Yeah. Guess what I'm getting them. I have this. The text is so freaking small, so I could show. Examining the Earth-like theory, the Yakima UFO microcosm.
I like the
PDF.
Omar Fuller, the Flying Triangle Mystery, Flying Triangle UFOs, a continuing story. Some of these are kind of familiar.
Yeah, well, they are. A lot of these are what some of our UFOs. A lot of these give us the information about UFOs that you see on TV shows and, all like the history side of things, all of that.
Yeah.
Like the last great UFO flap, 1973, 1974.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the best of the original UFO magazine. Right? It just goes on and on. The Northern UFO Casebook. A Gray Barker reader.
Oh.
And there's 3 of those. So Gray Barker reader 1, 2, and 3. Flying Saucer Scrapbook. A Decade of Flying Saucers from 1950 to 1960, which is pretty much the start of the UFO thing in general. The Aliens PDF, Earth Probe PDF, the Intruders PDF, the Continuing Story PDF, Flying Triangle Mystery, like you were saying, Crop Circles.
Yeah.
The Final Solution. Ball Lightning. In wider context.
Oh, I'm going to download this one. Michael Thoreau, Meetings with Remarkable Kooks.
Yes. One day we will be remarkable kooks. The Roswell Deception PDF.
So these aren't just books, they're written papers as
Right,
well.
they're books, reports, papers, magazine articles. It is a huge catalog of the UFO phenomena.
I clicked on one and it was so strikingly APA format written paper, and I'm okay.
Yeah, and it's like you could see the typewriter from somebody sitting down with an IBM Selectric 3 from like 1990.
Yeah.
Just blasting, or 86 or something, just blasting away trying to get all this stuff in there. So that's volume 1. Right? And I know people are probably just bored to death. They're like, whatever. But volume 2 has like other stuff too, like handbooks for how to investigate UFOs in actual abduction cases. And I believe, one of the original publications that talked about the Barney Hill. Why can't I think of her name? It's gone right out of my head.
Betty and Barney
Hill abduction case, which is huge, one of the most famous cases out there.
Yeah,
There's reference to Travis Walton in here. Okay. So this is a resource. This is kind of like having a UFO library in your pocket.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a gift. I'm like, this is great. I'm totally going to download and keep these. And I am. And I'm going to put them on a tablet. I'm going to put all of them, because I just figured out which tablet I want to use. I'm going to put them both. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put the secret teachings of everything on there on the tablet. I'm going to put this stuff on there. If I find anything else, like from the CIA, I'm going to put that on there.
See, I got to...
And if I can find that other book where it's like the secret livings of your pioneer family, or like you can make this stick into a fire log. And, it's like on TV now, right? Where you can spend $30 and get the book. I'm going to put that on there.
Like homesteading and survival.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Like how to make that, is it Peregrine? How do you, the meat's like jerky, but it's not, what is that stuff called?
Pemmican?
Is it pemmican? Is that a word you're just making up?
No. Pemmican is a real thing.
You sure it's called pemmican? Sounds right. Like how to make that, and how to make that bread, that hardtack where it's like has 1,200 calories. It's like a biscuit.
Pemmican is a mix of tallow, dried meat, and sometimes dried berries. A calorie-rich food, it can be used as a key component in prepared meals or eaten raw. Historically, it was an important part of indigenous cuisine in certain parts of North America.
Thanks, Alexa.
You're welcome.
It was like Siri. You're like, let me internet this real quick. But yeah, I'm going to put that on there too. But anyway, I thought that was an amazing resource to have. So now you have 3 things that you can just basically enjoy or not. It's up to you. We thought it was pretty neat. And if you're not really into that sort of thing on the podcast and you just listen to us because you tolerate us, we do appreciate it. But it's still, maybe somebody who's is interested in that kind of thing. You could share it with them and be like a super rock star or superhero. And be like, look what I got. And they're like, whoa. And it's free. Free is good. You know what I mean? Speaking of free, there is something else that's going to be happening pretty soon. I don't know how free it's going to be, but we were pretty impressed with this.
Yeah.
We actually talked about this person. We've referenced them like 4 years ago. But there's going to be a UFO archive that's going to be located in New Mexico. And the National UFO Record Archive is planned for New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And we have a link that takes you to KOB4.com.
One of my favorite news websites.
Because, yeah, they have some pretty interesting stuff and then some goofball weird stuff that they put out as just being just as regular as the news is.
KOB literally has their own section on their website called Strange and Weird.
Yeah, which is great. A lot of places do it, but they're pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
So basically, this guy, David Marler, has been gathering UFO information, has this huge records archive, and he's been gathering information for a long time. It was in his garage. Mm-hmm. Like, he would get stuff like off Craigslist and from museums and from different organizations, and people would send it to him. So now he's the executive director of the newly established National UFO Historical Records Center.
Yeah.
And he's working with amateur UFO researchers across the country to create the first of its kind public archive in the Albuquerque area.
So I want to jump in right there where the article says amateur researchers and stuff like that. I went to the actual website and he's got some notable people. So I wouldn't exactly call these people amateurs. Right. Mark Rodegayer, Rod Dyke, Micah Hanks, and a couple of other people who, like, you read about it and you're like, oh, this person is familiar. So yeah. Michael Schreit. Yeah, we've heard of these people, not exactly amateurs.
And we talked to a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Well, not a bunch of them. I know Micah. So
yeah, but
fun fact, him and Pepper are still not friends, but at least he was nice enough to have a picture with her. I think he came around.
Yeah.
Once he figured out what was going on.
Oh.
So him and Ben Hansen originally had the same weird looks on their faces. We were like, and I think once everybody else talked to him, like, oh, okay. So
I talked to Micah on Saturday night because Pepper had to go outside, and he was very cordial to Pepper. Pepper was in a fine mood, though. Yeah. So she was just...
She hated that dog. The nicest dogs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But she was very sweet later on. But Micah made an attempt. Eli made an attempt. So...
Yeah.
So... An attempt was made. But getting back to UFOs...
Well, the stupid thing is that when she sees him again, she remembers and goes over to him.
Yeah, so...
Which is kind of funny. Especially Seth. She still loves Seth Breedlove.
Yeah. But they've got, like, some serious heavy hitters when it comes to trying to do research and make this actual collection of UFO books, journals, magazines, right down to microfilm or microfiche, audio recordings, case files... And it warms my heart that this is happening in Albuquerque, technically Rio Rancho.
Well, I mean, he's already there. He probably didn't want to move. He's got all this stuff there.
Because we went to Roswell. We went to the International Paranormal or International UFO Museum place. And that place has its library, which is very respectable. But if this guy makes something just as significant, that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think he said he needs at least 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Of space to be able to put it in there. So the goal is to include a library, a workspace, a public museum of artifacts related to UFO research, and they're looking to raise money for a building.
Yeah.
But Marler says they would gladly work with the donated space. So basically, he's coming out of his garage. He's got to do something with it. And he's got the stuff. Like, he's got the materials necessary to do this and make it something good.
This guy's probably got file cabinets and storage boxes and computers and hard drives full.
Oh, he does. The picture that you see, that is his little basement. It's like everything stuffed to the gills with good stuff. So we're looking forward to that whenever that happens. But yeah. And so for more information, you can visit the National UFO Historical Records Center's website.
Yeah.
Which we'll actually put a link in the show notes. So if you want to kind of check it out. And since it's basically a non-for-profit type thing, I don't know how long this is going to take, but their mission is to collect, preserve, and provide historical UFO materials to the general public and interested parties. Excuse me. I'm dying here. With the accumulated data, we hope to assist with serious UFO research endeavors and age and accurate chronicling of UFO history for present and future generations, regardless of belief or non-belief in the subject matter.
Yeah.
So I am like, for sure, this guy has a lot of the stuff that we talked about with the UFO abduction database, the Measure of Mystery volumes 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
The 1,000 pages of UFO reports and documents and stuff. He's got it.
I wonder if
and you can have it it's a PDF document. You can save it yourself and you can have it too.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, if this guy gets everything set up and all, like, how can I reach out to this organization, or what purpose would I reach out to this organization for? Like, if I wanted, I'm being silly, I'd like to reach out and get more information about the Socorro sightings, you know, the ones that happen out towards Limitar and Socorro.
Yeah.
You know, get more
1964.
Yeah, because only thing
I don't know.
can find,
I don't know if this is one of the. Well, I don't know if you'd have to go there and do the research. I don't think you can just like send them an email saying, "Can you research this for me?" I'll be like, "No,"
because like when I research online, I can find maybe like 2 or 3, actually barely 2 original posts. Then everything else is a rehash. You know?
Yeah, well, I don't know. You maybe need to send them an email saying, "When can I come look for this?" You never know. That dude might be like, "Yeah, Saturday I'll be cutting the grass. You can come on by," or something like that.
It's Albuquerque. There's no grass.
Some people have grass; they pay for it. I don't know. It's a thing. I thought it was pretty cool, especially it's in New Mexico. New Mexico is close to Roswell, and New Mexico, close to the famous Roswell. But you also have other places where they've had major things happening in the UFO community, and the whole idea of like Dulce and underground bases and atomic testing, and
sighting, the Aztec crash landing, all that stuff. So
and more.
I don't know. I have a lot of hope for this, and it's got me excited.
Yep. So maybe in a couple of years there'll be something there.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody will donate a space. Maybe there's an old Dollar General or something that's going away. You know, you never know, man. I mean,
well,
see the days I think of like putting a library, you know, somewhere like downtown in the city sector where you got these big marble columns. I think a lot of that's going away. There's so many malls and things that are I wouldn't be surprised that in the future. I mean, churches are doing it. You got like strip mall churches and stuff like that. Yeah. In the future, that just becomes how it is. Everything gets digitized, and if you want like a storefront, you get it where you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be better for the environment. It would be better on resources, and like you're not spending as much money. I mean,
who knows?
Yeah. So
well. I do know it is time to end the podcast, and we do appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. So, there's that.
Thanks for tuning in, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas. While you're celebrating your holidays, be sure to check us out on social media. We've got a fairly active TikTok and Instagram, our Patreon, which we mentioned at the beginning of this episode. Also, if you want, there is a sale going on in our Etsy shop, which is Crafted Intent, which is the name I go under when I make some of my cool stuff. 25% off your order of $10 or more, and there is a link in the show notes.
You can get one of those sweet Lucky Crystal skulls.
Yeah, so check it out.
There you go. Anyway, we'll be back, so be sure to subscribe and listen. If you like to listen to, podcasts like on YouTube where you can just let them play while you're doing stuff, because that's you could do that with us. We are #listenable, and we're on every podcast playing platform. So it includes whatever you want to hear us on. So we do appreciate it very much. So anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.